Hello. It's Monday. It's not 3:45 or 4 or 4:30 or 5 o'clock or what are the other times that I might normally start. It's nearly 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I'm sitting in a hotel, and I believe there are people jamming on the other side, on the other wing of the hotel, and that's great. How are you doing? I hope everyone is doing as well as they can be on this Monday. Thank you for joining me on this another fine quarantine stream. Um, First busy day I've had in 4 months or something, probably more than that. And just more to come. Have to do accomplish actual tasks other than the ones that I set out to do for myself. Um, my face has less hair, and there's hair in a particular location that is very polarizing. And I'm on my laptop on this terrible laptop microphone. It probably sounds awful. Yeah, everyone's probably, no one's watching right now, but if anyone was watching, they would have clicked away already. They're like, this is terrible. I can't handle it. Um, but anyway, I'm gonna make this really quick because I have to get up pretty early tomorrow and do it all over again. And also, I've been busy, so I didn't really have anything to prepare. When I was thinking about what I might do today, I was like, I could play video games or whatever. But there's a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about. But obviously, I haven't really had time to really get my thoughts together. And I was like, well, I could stream a different day. But I was like, you know what? I'll stream Monday and Thursday, even if it's for like 15 minutes. Which this will probably be like 15 minutes, if I even have that much to say. Um, I've been wondering about. You might have heard some people, online leftists or something like that, they'll use a term, they'll use a phrase, socialism or barbarism. When a society is at a fork in the road, I know I'm getting right into it. Uh, when a society is at a fork in the road and we're facing crisis, uh, our choices are to take a deep look at the foundational structures of our society with all its complexity and all its flaws, and decide that we have to address those things which make it unstable and try and recreate a society and restructure a society that brings the majority of us safety and security, and create a new order, um, in order to mitigate the crisis, or even maybe that's the source of the crisis. Maybe it's a crisis of hunger or something like that. We can either make the difficult choices to address, the fact that, I mean, I'll just stop being abstract. I'll talk about what's happening right now. We're in a pandemic. Um, if you're unemployed and you're not getting sufficient uh, unemployment money, if your rent is still due, if you're homeless, if you don't have health insurance, which a lot of people, whether they were, if they weren't before, they're slowly heading towards having all of these things. Um, these people who are most vulnerable in the current crisis. So we can either, as a society, um, and obviously there are certain people who hold the levers of power as individuals that myself or whoever's watching this don't have. But as a society, however we come to that, we decide we're going to address the things that make these people's lives so precarious under normal circumstances, but are highly exaggerated during a crisis. And we address these things that are fundamental to our society as it is. The fact that all of our there's no sense of security. Everything about what we have is so tenuous. It could be gone at any moment. And when now there's a huge world-spanning crisis that we all have to reckon with, um, trying to look at our society and really having to imagine it and have to do it soon in a way that brings security for all those people. So we could either do that, that's one fork in the road, or you know survival of the fittest, which usually means those who can build the strongest coalition, whether it's based on your class, how much money you have, or along racial lines, or nation lines of nations. The historical context of you have these groups, often marginalized groups, Jewish, Roma, African, wherever, you take these groups and you say, the issue is we're doing too much for these groups. So if we want to face this crisis, if it's a crisis of scarcity or something like that, then we just have to say goodbye to these people, either passively or actively, uh, and consolidate the limited resources or whatever it may be for everyone else. So right now it's open everything back up. Let's all go to Disneyland. Let's all get it, it's more subtle than brown shirts marching through the streets, but it, it you feel like people are exaggerating when they bring things up. Like when Trump is elected, people are like, you think people are exaggerating about Nazis marching around, and I mean we've seen, the flowering of the far right in this country. I mean it didn't just start 4 years ago, but there's certainly a level of visibility and prominence that feels very alarming. So the choice is do we try and build do the hard work of building a sense of security for all people, or do we destroy is there just a group that needs to be destroyed in order for us? I mean, right now, that was kind of the argument for herd immunity. Just let it sweep through the populace. It only, if it only kill 1% of people, that's just what, 3-4 million people. I mean, that's the logic that has been passed around, and even if people aren't necessarily saying that now, through policy, um, I mean, right now you have governors. Newsom in California is like, okay, we're gonna close. We open it up, now we gotta close it. Um, at the beginning, it seemed like we were cool because it seemed like he was like, all right, we're gonna do the things that's difficult for us. We're gonna close down certain sectors in order to prevent spread. And then, oh, now it's tough. Now we're having trouble with businesses and people want to go out and blah, blah, blah. So let's open some things up. Oh, shit, that was a terrible idea. Close it all back up. I mean, how long are we going to go with this back and forth? Eventually, it's just going to pass through the population. It's just going to take longer than it did before. I mean, I guess that's fine if you're worried about it passing through and overloading hospitals. But that's already happening anyway. Even if it's happening slower than if it just literally swept through the population in one day, our healthcare infrastructure is that just can't handle it. It's not designed to to offer care to the most people. It's not designed to be easily accessible by the majority of people in this country. Um, it's designed to be very exclusive, and you only use it when you absolutely have to. Well, now that basically everyone, absolutely needs medical care, or at least like the the quick access to it, now we don't have it because that's not how it was structured. Structured to be exclusive and make lots of money. Maybe our care is better than other countries, especially in certain areas, specialized areas. But if you can't get it, what does it matter? So I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day, and I was getting mad about, they're talking about they're sending the kids to school. Oh, they'll be fine. If they open up these schools, some of these kids are gonna die. A lot of these kids are gonna die, and if those kids don't die, their parents or their grandparents, DeVos doesn't care. They don't care because they need their parents to go back to work, and it's hard to make their parents go back to work if their kids are at home and they got no one to watch over them. So you send the kids back, send the teachers back. It's not. It doesn't even seem like they're trying to close things down and hold back to actually keep people safe. They're just kind of like testing the waters, you know? Like why is Disneyland open in Florida but not California? When Florida is handling it much worse. California, we had our spikes and we were doing terrible, but now Florida's like the hottest new place for Corona because it's not about safety. It's about what people are able to tolerate, and what businesses can get away with while being like, well, the governor said we're cool. So I mean, just because that a bunch of people were getting it, it's not our fault. They said we could do it, so we're gonna do it. And it just all becomes this thing of like, who can get their message spread as wide as possible on social media and call businesses out, or if you wear a mask or not. And now this is the righteous thing to do. And if you don't wear a mask, you deserve to be smoked down or whatever. I mean, people should wear a fucking mask if you're gonna go outside, and you should limit the activities you do um, with other people. Um, but I mean, also if if people have to pay rent, if people stop getting the extra unemployment money, if the government is not providing any other support, like what are people gonna do? And then if it's like they can't go back to work because their businesses are being closed by the government, then they can't pay their rent. I mean, it's like it's crazy when politicians and these people who actually have control over things, they're scolding people when it's like you could just pay everyone to stay home, or do something, Don't just scold people. That's like me. I can go on, I can type on social media, you're a dumbass if you don't wear a mask. And that's fine because all I can do is go out and wear a mask. I don't have any control over your life or how anything works. But when these people who actually do be like, well, you just have to be responsible, you're fucking responsible. That's your job. You're getting paid to kill people, and you're not even wearing a camouflage uniform while you're doing it. You're wearing a fucking suit. So I don't know. It gets very frustrating when we keep having we've had the same conversations over and over for the past few months. The only new conversation is the renewed conversation around police brutality and the role of police and things like that. And hopefully people are getting educated about that and being educated about poverty and how poverty fits into the structure of society, and policing fits into the maintenance of poverty and all these different things. Um, it's not a bad discussion, but all this cyclical thing of like moralizing our behaviors and things like that. When yeah, individual choices can have an impact on the world around you. But it's like, it's kind of like, I made this example. I used this example in a conversation earlier about, like fossil fuel emissions. It's like, all of us, if every like normal person stopped driving a car for like a month, that would be great for like the environment or whatever. But the way our commerce is structured and the way companies do business would not be like what we would do by not driving a car is not nearly as significant as that. So individual choices, it's not like they don't do anything, but in the grand scheme, on a relative scale, that's not really the root of the problem. The root of the problem is not really people. I mean, in the case where your government is not doing anything for you, and you're totally out to fend for yourself, and we're in this fucking brutal, savage society that is structured that way, then yeah, all people can really do, all we really have control over as an individual is to wear a mask. So that's why people get mad, because it's like, well, shit, no one's doing anything else, no one's looking out for us, and this asshole is throwing a tantrum in a grocery store because they don't want to wear a mask. I mean, those people are assholes, but. But at the same time, it's like, if a society can't tolerate a few assholes without falling apart, then what is, you know, you got to look at the way it's structured. Um, there's got to be something deeper there. Uh, you know, if it only takes a few assholes to make it come crashing down, like, you got to take a hard look at that. And again, the fork in the road is, how are we going to address it? Are we going to try and address these structural deficiencies and these inequalities in the way things are set up? It's just so much easier for certain marginalized groups to be ground into the dust and forgotten. Are we going to address those problems? Are we going to fix them? Or are we going to, you know, let grandma die, or the guy, with the sign at the fucking off of the freeway exit, homeless veteran, Are we just going to hope that our problems die with the hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people that this takes in this country alone? I mean, that's the conversation people should be having, not people wear masks or assholes, people forcing people to wear masks, or why are we arguing about wearing masks on social media? I mean, whatever. I mean, I guess people don't have anything better to do if you're cooped up at home, but it's not a very helpful conversation. That doesn't really get to the root of the issue of what's really putting us all in danger. And that's just this, you know. There's a lot of we got a strong lineup of disasters that are going to hit this world in the next couple decades, maybe even sooner. And we really got to ask these questions, because we're going to be here with our pants down, trying to figure out what to do, and we never even address this fundamental question of how do we deal with crisis. Anyway, I think that is all I have time for, unfortunately. But I've been thinking about that, and the other day I was just like, I was livid when I was thinking about it. It comes in waves. You get really frustrated and angry, and then you get kind of burnt out, and then more things happen, and you're just like reacting to everything. It feels very out of one's control. I guess that's why we argue about masks, because we don't have control over the things around us. We're at the mercy of it all. But I mean, with all the protests around the country, we have the capacity to come together when the circumstances are right, and we need to continue to do so. That's the only way to get results, is if the mass of people, take the arguments off. I mean, yes, social media has its uses, but we have to, at some point, take the arguments offline and bring them into the real world. I mean, I've talked a lot about that on these different streams about different strategies and talking about what does and doesn't work and what each thing. It's not a binary whether it does or doesn't work. Unless you're like, these are my goals, and then yes, you could fall short. Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done if we want to do this in a way that is, preserves humanity as essential. Um, but hopefully, I'll have more time to do something else these next couple of weeks. Again, I'm gonna shoot for Monday, Thursdays this week and the next week, and then after that, I should be able to go back to the old schedule. But I'm gonna be playing it by ear. So if any of you guys get to catch this live, great. If not, well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But glad I was able to get all that out there. Anyway, Thursday again. I don't know what time. Maybe around this time. I'd like to do earlier, just because I have to get up earlier. But hopefully you guys again stay safe. Hopefully you're able to have some of these conversations with people constructively and connect with other people. Do what you need to do, or